except those things that embarrass the living. So I hope to adhere to that, something I call the Augustinian, which is why he never named his mistress. I'm going to close with this. All of us know and you know this person. Okay, so let us begin. Dearly beloved, we are gathered here to celebrate the life of the party. Now you know I'm right. One proof that I brought with me is this is the Packer schedule, and it's highly annotated. He annotated with notes about whether he would be able to watch it on TV or if he would have to listen on the radio, and each week he tracked the wins and the losses. And of course, it was party time when they won. Today we arranged this so that we could go to the Packer game, at the time of this. So it's all party time. Joseph and I celebrate our 56th wedding anniversary on December 31st, 2022, New Year's Eve. Getting married on the last day of the year with horns blowing and corks popping and fireworks exploding means it's time to party. And on this New Year's Eve, we shared a French salade composée, French bread and brie, Irish cheddar, and a bottle of wine that Joseph and I devoured with us. Preparing to go to Mass when unexpected chest pains hit. 911, blocked artery, fluttering hard, vital signs fading. I knew what he wanted. I didn't hold him back from the eternal party. I held him, I kissed him, I held his hand, I prayed with him, and he flew home. He was free at last. I am profoundly grateful. My heart is full. Every tear is a thank you. I am grateful to God for my time with Joseph, 56 plus years. Now think about that. In the words of Joe's colleague at the University of St. Thomas, Dr. Paul Verbrugge, quote, Joe was quite direct. Well, I'd say to say the very least. I can honestly say that there was never a dull moment in our entire married life. I am grateful for you all here, expressing your kaleidoscope flashes of the Joseph you knew and loved and experienced. It comforts and soothes my heart and soul, our hearts and souls, and honors and celebrates his directness, his partying, his legacy. I wrote him this thank you for a few years ago in 2015, and he read it, so he had read this. And in true Joseph form, he said, quote, it sounds like my obituary or my eulogy. Written by Janice Ray Hallman, 2015. Thank you, dear Joseph, my lover, my husband, my friend. The passion, the joy, the beauty, the music, the running, making me a Packer fan. The truth of life that is you. I know you are there in the warmth of the sun and the strength of the wind to have and to hold. There's so much to cherish, to treasure, to wonder. My heart wells with emotion that spills out in tears. Thank you for being my beloved, my husband, and wanting to bring forth our children with me. Thank you for giving your life for our family and lavishly providing and sharing your gifts over all these years. Who you are will never be forgotten. Always be remembered because you are now part of our being when you gave life. Thank you for the creative thrust of your thought, your writing, your teaching. It's a work of generosity of spirit, honed with scholarly precision and prepared as a bouquet for our souls to savor. Thank you for being a mentor, a companion, a friend, a support, a sustainer for family, friends, students, and colleagues. Thank you for sharing our joy in life and learning and being there in our time of need and pain. Thank you for all I never knew you did or suffered or gave up, and all you forgave me. Thank you, Joseph, my lover, my husband, my friend, for loving me and opening wide to let me love you in this world. Thank you for filling our minds and hearts with lyrics and music, accompanying us and celebrating our journey. And thank you for all our travels together to see and to marvel, to learn, to absorb the wonders of this country, this world, this planet, this universe. And thank you for providing such a banquet, a feast from your love of life, your energy and your bounty. And thank you for your love of family in so many places. So I feel time slipping away as it always does, and I wanted you to know in my heart. Thank you, dear Joseph. I will always love you. You will live forever in me and in our hearts. Amen. And as always, at the end of Jason, our dear nephew, will speak. So we'll go on with the party.
I feel blessed to have been able to spend as much time with Uncle Joe as I did. From spending weeks back when they lived in St. Paul with Jen and Eric, and Sarah, and David at their house. My brother and I would stay there, and I don't know how they put up with us. I would ask Joe repeatedly, because we would stay with them for a week, and then they would all go back with us to 3 Lakes, Wisconsin for a week. And I repeatedly asked Joe, was it because you enjoyed it, or were you just looking forward to the week when your house was empty? He never did give me a response. I think he just enjoyed the time with everybody. But Joe and I spent countless hours on a boat on fishing trips, or just hanging out at the Jomo, or at a bonfire, or just sitting around a table, just talking about whatever, up in 3 Lakes. I go to 3 Lakes, Wisconsin quite often to visit my dad and Don, and also to see our Uncle Luke. And I was lucky enough that Joe and I were able to plan a lot of our trips together, where we'd go up there in the spring around fishing over, and fish, hang out, and do whatever. And then there was always another time, usually like late July, first week of August, because it was always right around Fireman's Picnic. And we always enjoyed the Fireman's Picnic. That was the weekend that everybody kind of looked forward to. So, Fireman's Picnic, a lot of times Joe would be there, and then Aunt Jen and David and Sarah would show up. And then a few of my friends from the cities would come up. And we always had a great time up there. And a lot of the time, on Saturday afternoon, everybody got there, it kind of got to be a tradition, where we would all show up out in Hallman Road property, where they were, raised and grew up as children. And we'd hang out, and it was kind of tradition to go out onto a pontoon ride. We'd take a little pontoon ride, everybody kind of settle in and do whatever, and then we would go on and celebrate the festivities for firemen. Well, there was a year when I was up there, it was in the spring with Joe, and he was telling me, we were talking, we were already excited, looking forward to Fireman's Picnic. And Joe looks at me and he says, I have an idea. He goes, let's take the pontoon ride and turn it into a pontoon ride. And I'll bring my guitar, and we'll sing songs, and cruise around the chain, and as he told me, I'll jam on the chain. That's a great idea, come on, we were both pretty stoked about it. But after discussing, we were a little worried whether we'd hear the instruments over the roar of the outboard motor while we were cruising around. So, over the next few months, through many emails, texts, and Amazon product shares, Joe was able to find a battery-operated amplifier and a splitter that he was so proud and excited about, because he could plug both his guitar and the microphone in, and we could cruise and be able to just crank it up over the sound of the outboard, take a cruise through the chain. So as that Fireman's Weekend approached, I remember Joe came up early. It was probably midweek or something. Came up in the Jomo, and we were hanging out, and we were so excited. Like, we got to make sure it works. This is going to be epic. So then finally, everything worked. It was perfect. And that Saturday, Aunt Jan and Sarah and David and a couple of my buddies, Bill and Chip from the Twin Cities, rolled in, and we were all getting ready for the pontoon ride. Now these pontoon rides, more often than not, we would go out and there'd be a scare of weather, and we'd have to turn around and come back early. Or it would actually rain on us, and choice words were said, and we came back in. But that time, I do clearly remember it was a perfect day. So Jan, Dave, and Sarah, my buddies, showed up. We all took all the equipment. Piled everything out of the boat, and it was perfect. And before I could get the boat out of the bay, Joe's already amp out, mic stand up, guitar over shoulder. I wasn't even out of the bay, and he was like, let's go, let's go. So needless to say, for like the next 2 hours, we cruised the chain, had the tunes cranked. Joe was leading, we were all singing along. Well, he serenaded the paddle boaters, kayakers, people on the chain, people were applauding. It was like something we had never experienced before, and I'll never forget that. It was a very unique and memorable time, and it was just one of the many of the unique and memorable times that I was able to spend with Joe. Thank you very much. We love you, J. Toast.
Joe's sister Anita is going to come up and say a few words now.
I think mine is entertaining compared to the others. This is to Joseph, my brother. Many years and many lifetimes we've lived. I remember our Chicago adventures when we were children. Like the time we went to the Navy Pier fishing with Dad and pulled the legs off of his bait, the crabs. And he was very upset. We didn't know why, but he said to us, "Fish do not bite on dead bait." So I guess it has to be alive in order to catch fish. Then there was the time that we were sent to get ice for the Hallman brothers, who gathered every Sunday at somebody's house to play cards, call each other names, drink beer, and the beer was in this big tub with chunks of ice. They ran out of ice. So send the kids for ice. So we took our wagon and we went and got the ice. You put in your quarter. See, you're not familiar with it. You put in your quarter, and then they have these great big tongs, and you grab the ice and then put it in your wagon, and then we're going along on Paul's stick, and the streetcar is going by. So Joe got this idea, and I want you to know it was his idea. He took a chunk of the ice and threw it at the streetcar. And the streetcar stopped immediately in its tracks. Stopped. The guy got out, right, came over to us and shouted to us, and he said, "What did we do?" You know, and then I just literally picked him apart all the way back home for getting us into trouble, because I think I was the goody two-shoes. But anyway, Joe, you were my buddy during those early years. When we moved to 3 Lakes, you left for the seminary, and I was left with those other 3. We did catch up again when I moved to Milwaukee. I used to drop off cookies at the seminary because we were not allowed in the seminary. So I had to leave them on a big credenza, and I never knew if they actually got to him or not, because other guys walked by, you know. And then once in a while, on Wednesday afternoon, because they always have Wednesday afternoons off, he and a friend would stop over. And there were many times we just said, "Oh, well, as long as you're here, you can take care of the kids and we'll go someplace." So they did that, and they were very happy to do that. And then we would rush back, because we hardly ever made it back for his curfew. You know, I would be driving like crazy down Oklahoma Avenue trying to get in there in time. We always kept in touch through your time in Racine, your studying in New York, your time in West Virginia. We were really happy when you chose St. Thomas, because that meant you would be close by. We had many theological discussions, most of them peaceful. It was you who broadened my perspective of church. It was you who taught me how to love God, and it was you who taught me how to love people. And then we would rush back, because we would hardly ever made it back for his curfew. You know, I would be driving like crazy down Oklahoma Avenue trying to get in there in time. We always kept in touch through your time in Racine, your studying in New York, your time in West Virginia. We were really happy when you chose St. Thomas, because that meant you would be close by. We had many theological discussions, most of them peaceful. It It was you who invited me to question and search. Thank you for that. We have walked together for 83 years. That is quite an achievement. Thank you for sharing that time with me. I love you, my brother. I love you. I'd also like to read a poem from Maya Angelou that my son Joseph, who has Kennedy's disease and is unable to be here, he sent it to me in honor of his uncle. It's called When Great Trees Fall. When great trees fall, rocks on distant hills shudder, lions hunker down in tall grasses, and even elephants lumber after safety. When great trees fall in forests, small things recoil into silence. Their senses eroded beyond fear. When great souls die, the air around us becomes light, rare, sterile. We breathe briefly, our eyes briefly see with a hurtful clarity. Our memory, suddenly sharpened, examines, gnaws on kind words, unsaid, promised walks, never taken. Great souls die, and our reality bound to them takes leave of us. Our souls depended upon their nurture, now shrink, wizened. Our minds formed and informed by their radiance fall away. We are not so much maddened as reduced to unutterable ignorance of dark, cold caves. And when a great soul dies, after a period, peace blooms, slowly and always irregularly. Spaces fill with a kind of soothing electric vibration. Our senses restored, never to be the same, whisper to us, they existed. They existed. We can be better, for they existed.
I'm going to be a little blue, just so you know. So if you're easily offended, you might want to cover your ears. My dad was highly irreverent and a little blue. So this is an honor of him. Hey, Dad. How you doing? Yeah, you're right. That's probably a dumb question. How about this? All these people are here for you. What do you think about that? No, I can't say that. No, I can't say that either. No, I definitely can't say that. Well, for two. What? No, you can't sneak out to the parking lot for a bump and a beer. No, not this time. But you know what? I can have one. And I'm not sneaking out to the parking lot. You know what? Shit, yeah, I'll have a bump too. Anybody else got one? Feel free to join me. Here's the old man. Hang on a second. I might have to have another one. Is it okay if I tell a few stories? Yeah, I'll tell him. He says, yeah. So, do you remember the first time we went winter camping? Yeah, with Tony. That was awesome, right? Yeah, I know we froze our asses off. Yeah, I remember we busted our asses getting out there. Yeah, I remember Tony snorted like a fucking chainsaw. But we had fun, right? Yeah, I remember we had to move our tents to snort so loud. But it was fun. We got to see what we're made of, right? Yeah. How about this? We're going back to school. through the really tough times. And how I got into trouble with some of your coworkers with my views on peace and justice. Yeah, I probably should leave that one alone, right? How about bumps in your office with Brother Steve Friday afternoons at Patrick's on University? Those were some great times. Thank you for that. I couldn't have done it without you. Yeah. What's that? No, I don't need another beer yet. What? Fuck you then too. When Eric and Sarah and I and Brenda and all of our families came down to Florida for Thanksgiving. Yeah, the boat cruise, Thanksgiving dinner thing. That was great, wasn't it? All of us together for Thanksgiving and in Florida. Holy shit, did you just agree with me? And no sarcastic comments? Shit, I need to write that down. Oh, and hey, during this past week, we were looking at your computer and I found a letter on there. You mind if I share it? Yeah, the one who wrote the Spirit Airlines. That's too bad, I'm sharing it anyway. So this is called Why I Hate to Fly. I noticed that Spirit Airlines has lowered their fares, but tries to make up the difference with extra fees. I wonder who on their payroll or airline payrolls in general dreams this stuff up. Fees for seats with extra legroom, such as next to the emergency doors, fees for luggage, even for carry-ons, costs for TV monitors, $7 for a glass of bad wine, charge for a lousy seat. Make sure you get a receipt. I was double charged by United because I refused the receipt. I also noticed that Spirit will use some planes without restrooms. I have several suggestions for the airlines. Regarding restrooms, make the user swipe a charge card before entry, requesting number 1 or 2, or both. Charges will vary. The emissions can be monitored by weight to make sure no one cheats. And then vaporized. In other words, spiritualized. Spirit could even use that for marketing, a la, we spiritualize your extra. That even sounds green. Restrooms should also have timers so that passengers pay as they go, so to speak. I can even hear the restroom timers ticking so that all passengers can keep track. Paper for use in restrooms can be measured out ahead of time or afterwards by swiping your card and paying accordingly. And there shall no longer be a free glass of chlorine-tasting water. If there are no restrooms, you had better ride dry, developing what I call Paris blood. Paris is notorious for being restroom unfriendly. Of course, if there are no restrooms, the drink and the trash carts can crowd the entire aisle for the entire flight. You won't need to slink around them to the restroom. That institution evokes nothing short of a remark with Sartre's no exit. To paraphrase, hell is flight attendants with carts. And it's signed Joseph Hallman, White Bear Township. All right, so did you see the Vikings get their asses kicked by the Packers on New Year's Day? Yeah, I know you were busy that day. But did you happen to have anything to do with it? Of course you did. You really want me to tell them that? You know, you're probably Vikings fans here. All right. He says Kirk Cousins needs to call his mommy, buck the Vikings, and go Pack. Oh, yeah. Thanks for the reminder. You guys know why this ends at 6, right? There's a rather important game tonight that we need to step off and watch. So Joe says, y'all need to get the fuck out of here on time so we can go watch the game. Oh, by the way, do you think you could help our boys out again tonight like we did on New Year's Day? I'm sure Packer Nation would appreciate it. Last thing. When we went to pick out a place for you, Sarah borrowed your boots. She tried to put them on, she found something in your boot. I forgot to grab it, but I'll tell what it is anyway. Yep, that's where you left your shot glass. We thought that was an odd place for a shot glass, but I guess it made sense to you. Well, Dad, I'm going to wrap this up. I know you're not a big fan of long-winded speeches, especially about you. I want to give you the final word, though. Any thoughts for anyone? For everyone? Come on, now, you know I'm not going to say that. Really? All right, how about this? Here's to you, Dad. And in the immortal words of Curly Bill in Tombstone, well, bye. Thank you all for coming, for laughing. That's what he would have wanted. This wraps up our presentation. You guys are welcome to stay, only until the game.